afternoon, everyone, and good morning to those of the European continent. Welcome to the first ATF Locked-in series. This 35-minute session will give us an update on the diverse and incredibly massive market that India has become. Joining us are veteran buyers from significant platforms in India. With us today, we have Kavitha Jaubin, Cluster Head Content Acquisition and Kids Entertainment from Sun TV Network. Rahul, VP of Sales and Content Partnerships from 108 Media, and Uttam Singh, Head of Discovery Kids India. We're also privileged to have Constantinos Papavassilopoulos, Associate Director of Omdia, all the way from London, joining us as this session's moderator. He will begin the session with a quick overview of the market, sharing some exclusive statistics. Let's welcome Consti as we begin this session.
Welcome everyone, and thank you ITF for this nice invitation and the opportunity to discuss a very interesting and dynamically growing Indian content market. I will provide some stats. India is a prolific producer of content. 750,000 hours of content are produced in India on an annual basis. Between 1,600 and 1,800 movies are released every year, and the media and entertainment sector of the country represents roughly 1.5 to 2% of the GDP, which is between 45 and 60 billion US dollars. I want to share with you some stats regarding a recent report that Omdia, the company I work for, is an Informa subsidiary, has released just 2 months ago. It doesn't take into account the recent COVID pandemic, therefore figures for 2020 will be affected, but it gives a clear picture of the dynamism of Indian original content production for online video platforms, for OTT. Now in 2019, 360 million US dollars were invested in Indian original content from the global media, the global OTT players like Netflix and Amazon, and the major Indian OTT players. We expect, although, as I said, the 2020 figures will be affected, from 2021, normalization will come and the growth pattern of investment in original content in the country will continue and will probably reach 1 billion US dollars by the mid of this decade, by 2025 or 2026. Who is spending that money? Well, obviously, the two US giants present in the country, Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, are the biggest spenders. They both have claimed that they want to be global distributors of Indian content, and Netflix has already produced 52 originals, Amazon Prime a little less, 36 to 37. But what is interesting is that the Indian OTT players only account around 15 of the major of them. On aggregate, are investing an equal amount of money for producing original content for OTT platforms. And you can see that more eloquently in this chart, where in 2017, the year that Netflix and Amazon produced their first originals in India, 70% of the money invested for original content for OTT in India was spent by only those two American players. However, gradually but steadily, the Indian OTT players have managed to match that amount. And as I said, leaving aside the disruption that the COVID pandemic will have for this year, we expect that in 2021, they will match up the amount of money invested by the two US giants. And by the mid of the decade, 60% of the investment in Indian original content for OTT will come from Indian players and 40% from the two US giants together. We count, I have to make this note, Disney Plus Hotstar, the new entrant, as an Indian player. Regarding now Indian original titles for online video, in 2019, a little less than 300 titles were produced according to Omdia estimates. The biggest producers in terms of number of titles were obviously the Indian players, and we've seen some very prominent names like Z5, the OTT platform of Z, having the largest number of originals. Other major Indian players like Eros Now, Al Balaji, who cooperates with Z5, and Sony Live, but even regional players like Hoi Choi, who targets the Bengali market, have a large number of originals, low budget, of course, but still a high number. We expect that the bundling of Disney with Hotstar will lead to a much higher number of originals from the next year from this player as well. With that said, I want to like to invite our panelists and start the discussion with Rahul. I want to ask you from 108 Media, from the viewpoint of a content buyer, which Indian content genre is more attractive to 108 Media, but also to your international clients, to international broadcasters?
First of all, I would like to thank you for having us here, and I would like to commend ATF for this virtual endeavor. We, 108 Media, are both content aggregators as well as we produce and develop a lot of content. So both for SVOD and linear and TV channel. What we do is we look for content from India, not for India. The genres that are exciting for us at this point of time, we're looking at finished documentaries, factual travel, lifestyle, unique culture interests us. Due to increased demand and consumption of OTT and SVOD platforms right now, we are having increased demands for health and wellness, DIY, mental wellness, that kind of content as well. We are also looking for game show formats, which which can be replicated or customized into local markets. When I say local markets, it could be in different languages and different parts of the globe. So we're looking for unique game show formats as well as original IPs. So when I say original IPs, we mean books or any interesting story with remake rights already there, those kind of stuff.
I want to ask you about the content differentiators, what metrics your company is utilizing in order to make the decision about the content you are interested in.
So ours is a company with presence in different countries. As in, I myself am based out of the Toronto office. We have our colleagues based out of Tokyo, Singapore, LA, London, Kuala Lumpur. So we work directly on the feedback that we get from the market because we are present in the market. So we work in that facet because the market is very dynamic, so it changes from time to time. We do have output deals when it comes to finished programming. So finished programming is pretty straightforward. What the target, what our output deals are with, and following the target audience taste and preferences. Meanwhile, the original production and the development, whereas it goes, it is keeping our ears closer to the ground. So that's how we measure it.
Thank you for that. Before we continue, I want to mention that there is a poll that is about to start right now, and I will kindly ask the attendees to partake this poll while we continue our discussion. I want to tell you that what also I show in my chart is that we have the last few years a new kid on the block, if I may use the term, online video, the OTT platforms. That in many more mature markets are actually taking away customers from traditional TV. So in your view, is a different type of content, a different genre of content better suited for traditional TV and better suited for OTT, and which content is for each case?
OTT preferably, means thank you, because of the multi-screen and the OTT in today's time, there is content, which travels. So there is a lot of scope for content which travels, which has legs, which resonates with a wider audience, with a global audience. However, the traditional TV route, when they look at audience, are they cater to a targeted audience in country specific, or if there are regional channels in a state or a province specific. So in that facet, there is a big big variety of content and content makers. It's good for content makers as well as people who sell content for catering to the OTT platforms, because they work in for multiple audience. So in that facet, there is a big consumption. During the current time, a lot of people are staying home, watching their platforms and subscribing to different OTT platforms world across. And so it is good for the buyers as well as sellers, because there's a wide array of content. It is definitely different because it is more suited to different stratas of the society, different audiences. It resonates with the global audience. It is not targeted to a specific demographic or a country or a province. That's the differentiator.
It's also the length of the production, because we know that in traditional TV, Indian shows can go on for 100 or more, even 1,000 episodes, while OTT consumption is focused on much shorter, between 6 to 10, sometimes 12 episodes for series.
That's true. It has to be crisp enough and it has to be edgy enough to, to bind the audience. South American as well as Indian, they can go to 250 episodes, season after season and all that. So, but there is not much traction unless, it is a tentpole property coming from a big boy or a big studio, and which is doing its second layered run on an OTT platform. Then it can be seasoned. Like, for example, if I take an example of Blacklist, it's a very popular show. It is now on Netflix for a second window, so it does well. But it has already established itself in a pay TV market, as adverse to what is targeted as original programming, which is specifically tailor-made for OTT platform. Those 7-8 episodes for digital series is perfect, because that is the traction and the attention span is less. There is enough content to play with, and the viewer is spoiled for choice.
Thank you. I want Rahul to stay with the original content for OTT platforms and ask 108 Media, what genre of content, when we're talking now about originals, about Indian original content, are you mostly interested in, and where you have seen most interest internationally for that genre?
So right now we are trying to create a strong slate of scripted, we are developing a strong slate of scripted series. So for global audiences, if I may repeat myself, so what has worked in our past is anthology, crime and investigation series, futuristic sci-fi series. What we are typically looking at from the Indian market are period dramas, Asia-centric, edgy crime and investigation, thriller. It has to be edgy. Again, I repeat myself many times, because we look at what interests us is something, a treatment is done for global audience, not for target specific, Indian audience per se, but also, so it is very important. It is, has an Indian background to it. It has an Indian historical relevance to it, stories of, struggle, valor, inspiring human stories. So it stems out from something in India, which resonates with the audiences in India, but also has legs in terms of resonating. Like we have, Indian history is full of, and the production is, the quality of production is improving. The stories that they're capturing are increasing. The production values are going high. It is still, niche, because it's higher production value. It is still niche to develop content for global audience in India, which is though happening. So that is what interests us, stories which are scripted drama themed.
I want to ask whether, there is a stable recipe, or these, especially because OTT is still something new, these definitions can change. I can give an example using Netflix and Amazon Prime that I have also used in my presentation. Netflix is saying that it's 2 Indian crime dramas, Sacred Games, the first season, and Delhi Crime, but also an animation, Mighty Little Bean, that attract the largest audience coming from India internationally. We know that Amazon Prime is also investing in comedy. So it seems that it's not only one genre or even one focus that is of interest when global players are interested in exploiting Indian original content internationally.
True. Animation, definitely, we also have our hands dipped into animation. So we are working with, means for a broadcaster in France. They have already commissioned a show that we are working on. So humor and animation, there are two things, is like the target audience is very well defined. A show which will be humorous in one part of the world may or may not have legs. Everybody is not Russell Peter, who has a global audience and presence. So there are many stand-up comedy or comedians, and Amazon is right now investing, but they are targeted for the local market. When I say local, I'm talking about national Indian market. But our mandate is to, acquire stuff from India, but for the global market. So comedy does not, because comedy is all about timing. Comedy is about characters that you can relate to. The audience would like to see known faces. Those faces known within, which comes under a scope of original programming for an OTT platform in India, may not resonate well. However, animation may, because the strong characters and the values and everything. So animation definitely may. We have acquired animation and means other lifestyle shows from India, like travel cuisine as well as animation. But again, the quality at which the animation is at, it is difficult to get good quality animation if it is not at development stage. Good quality animation which is not already linked to a broadcaster. 9 out of 10 times, a good quality of animation is tied up with the big broadcaster within India. So there cuts the rights, so we don't have much rights to exploit outside. Our colleagues from Sun as well as Discovery would definitely know, because what they think is good, they will add more value to it, they will produce it, that becomes their production. So in that facet, it has been a little bit of a challenge. It is not a challenge to get original IPs for animation from India, but finished or semi-finished product in terms of animation for global audience, it has been a little challenge for us.
Rahul, I want to ask you also about the appeal of regional languages. We know that within India, content in regional languages, especially in the South, is very, very popular. There are statistics showing that roughly 50% of Indian TV viewers prefer to watch content in regional language. Does this factor play a role in the decision you are making regarding Indian content, or you prefer only content in English and Hindi?
So our preference for finished content, as I said, that we are into finished content because we also wear a hat as a content aggregator for the output deals we have across the Americas and Europe and Asia. So for finished content, we definitely like something which is already in English or Hindi. Because when it is Hindi, it is at least for a national audience. And if it is for a national audience, it may or may not have leg, but chances of it having legs to travel is high. So we steer clear from regional, because regional is a demographic specific. However, at a development stage, there are very interesting stories and books and shows which are there. But then again, there has to be remake rights of those stories that we would be interested in. So yes, it is a factor. Regional and national is a factor. Language definitely is a factor when we are looking for finished product. It necessarily is not a factor when we are looking for original IPs, to acquire IPs from India.
Regarding I don't know how this affects your work, but the entrance of Netflix and Amazon Prime Video in the Indian market, and specifically the investment in production of original content, we expect this to continue with Disney Plus now, who is bundled with Hotstar, create some fears, and there is a discussion among the Indian media community of rising prices for talent, rising prices for producing content to a level that some Indian producers cannot cope, and whether that, you think, might affect also, first of all, the quantity and quality, the quality less, but the quantity of content, the options international buyers like you will have if, the entrance of a few big pocket players will distort the market. What is your opinion about that?
I say because we are lucky that we wear multiple hats in the company that I work with. So I say it is more like an opportunity for us rather than be a deterrent, because when these big boys come, they command a big production value for any show to fit their parameters. That is a good opportunity for us to collaborate with a Indian production house or a development studio or the talent. And then what we can do is because we can monetize it in different ways. It is not only restricted to the OTT platform in India. We can monetize rights globally across platforms, across TV channel. So we have that might, and so we do encourage to collaborate on these kind of shows, and which we are doing in different countries. Not in India, if I may say so. Not started in India, if I may say so, because it definitely depends on what kind of project. But if there is a production value needs to be hyped up because of the current demand from these OTT platforms, that is where that we will definitely want to put our hand in. So we would definitely love to collaborate and add value to that kind of a proposition. And these OTT platforms, I think it is a good thing for companies like ours. They stretch the envelope a little bit. They increase the production value. They, as you see, the current shows, most of them are for global audience. Means I am sitting out of the Americas, and there is a huge demographic which follows Netflix and Amazon, and there are original Indian production, Indian language shows which are so watched. So the production quality has gone up. So I think it is good for the industry. Personally, that's what my take on it.
I want to ask you about the current situation. We are all under, the threat of a COVID-19 pandemic. Whether you think this pandemic will have a long-lasting effect in content consumption patterns, or it will be just temporary. So at the end of the year, we will return to our usual habits in terms of content consumption, and specifically about Indian content consumption.
So yeah, it is interesting. As in, I wish I could have an exact answer, but I guess none of us, we don't know what the reality holds. However, there are a couple of things which are happening. We want to think that it is temporary, but it has taken a beating in terms of there is a division of our company which is into branded content, which is the game show formats and the production. So because of the current situation, the brands are a little skeptic to start. And when they are skeptic to start, of course, the production takes a beating. And if the production is not happening, then there is no original production happening. So the viewers are not seeing original shows being produced. And there is also a production restriction in many of the territories that we function in. So, means that is what is happening in India as well. So people are starting to produce, but then again, scripted production may start before factual production, because scripted will be studio based, so it can be controlled, and it can go with the parameters set by the government and the regulatory bodies. However, we are into the factual space of production, so for us it is going to be a little tricky. So I guess it is a situation of wait and watch. As far as the consumption of the content goes, I think the finished content has a market. Though it is going to be price sensitive, and the viewers will watch, and they have access to multiple screens, so they will watch it. So that is good for them. As far as the originals, it's a completely different story. We just have to wait and watch. We are hoping that by Q3 or Q4 this year, the production resumes. And so the sooner it happens, it is better for all of us who are there for producing originals.
I want to ask you, currently 108 Media, I know that we are, as I said, in this pandemic. However, broadly speaking, where 108 Media is focusing right now, what, if you can share with us, what kind of projects you are working on, and what prospects you see in the next 1 or 2 years regarding Indian content?
So we are currently working on, animation series. It's a big budget, 3 million euro, animation series. We are working on anthology series which is having Indian detective And means we are developing it with a broadcaster in London at this point of time. That's scripted. We are also working on a sci-fi futuristic series. We are developing it out of LA at this point of time. So we are, because we don't know when the production resumes, so we are focusing on working on development slate as we speak. So because all of us are right now working from home, working with their laptops and the Wi-Fi. So that does not stop us to develop. It does not stop us to engage people, to pick up the phone, talk to people, and so we are not leaning too much on finished, because finished is happening as is, and finished does have a market because of the current pandemic situation. So animation is something that we are working in. Scripted is something we are working. Original IPs is something that we are working on. We have just collaborated with Factual, production house broadcaster based out of India for over 30 shows. So we are doing interesting collaborations. Taking this time out to doing interesting collaborations with now the shows that I'm talking about are Factual, travel, cuisine, culture, those kind of shows. So this is where our focus is. When it comes to finish, then we are forming collaboration. When it is coming to development, then we are hungry for original stories and IPs.
Thank you very much, Rahul. I want to wish very much success, and I hope, as I said before, that once this pandemic is over, the market will continue its growth trajectory. It's growing dynamically and significantly higher than most other international markets. It has a dynamism that is attributed to the work of the Indian people. We have to say that the talent pool and all the people working in the media and entertainment sector are doing an excellent job in India. You have first-hand experience from that yourself.
Yes.
All right. So, Kavitha, sorry for the technical difficulties. I go straight to the questions that I have for you. And I want you to tell me what genre of content Sun TV is investing. I'm talking about original. And what prospect do you see for this content in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, Sun TV Network, as you rightly said, is one of the biggest in India. And Sun TV Network has got around 32 channels, has got different genres. We've got GEC channels, we've got movie channels, we've got kids channels, we've got comedy channels and music channels. And currently for the kids channels, my TG would be like 2 to 14, and we are acquiring content. And apart from that, for the movie genre as well as for the GEC channels, we are looking for international movies which can be dubbed into regional languages. And any format, I think, which will suit our regional landscape. I think we are quite open, because Sun TV Network has as you rightly said, has decoded its core viewers long back, and it still continue to be the market leader. And we really wanted to explore some best formats to be adapted into the regional languages. And even we have tried a couple of new technology shows in our kids channels, which is like a motion captured show and augmented reality event. So anything of that sort would be great for us. Right now, this is our plan.
Regarding regional language, we know it's a big market, especially in the South. Can you give us, if you have some data and info, which regional markets are the largest in terms of content investment in content, and what are the prospects for the next 2-3 years regarding regional markets?
I think if you talk about Sun TV Network, we operate in 4 regional languages, and we have one more which is recently launched, which is Sun Bangla. And along with that, we have 5 languages currently, and we operate mostly in these 5 languages. And the 4 languages are the strongest: Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. And we invest big budget, on these kind of, languages, and we operate on a large basis in this landscape.
We know that, as I said, viewers are not turning away from traditional TV in India. Traditional TV is still very strong. It happens in other markets. But the reality of OTT, sometimes it's changing content consumption patterns. Whether you have experienced that, and according to your view, is OTT changing or transforming the content consumption patterns even on traditional TV? Are people starting to seeking content that will fit better into OTT even on traditional TV?
I think as
sorry,
Rahul right.
One second. Constantino, I just got a note from ATF. We can extend it for 15 minutes. So
Yes.
I think 7-8 minutes left. So I don't know if we'll commit there. I just wanted to convey this. Sorry.
That is great to have the opportunity, the panelists, to speak. Yes. Sorry, Kavitha. Please.
As Rahul rightly said, I think we are seeing this OTT as a new challenge rather than a as an opportunity rather than a challenge, because we all know that with an increasing number of brands understanding the significance of vernacular communication, a large untapped digital literate audience is being reached out to. So with higher internet inclusion, higher brand reach, and ultimately wider relatability, regional content is poised to take a digital in India by storm, and I think it's here to stay. So what we feel is that it's complementing each other. The traditional medium as well as the digital medium is complementing each other. We can definitely take extension from TV to digital, again from digital to TV. And some of the OTT platforms, I would say, in India has actually tried that model. Some of the TV shows as well as the TV stars have been taken to the digital platform. Similarly, digital platforms has offered so much to the traditional medium as well. And I think the quality is too good. We are learning something from the digital. Similarly, they are just understanding the storytelling techniques from the linear platform. I think it's a win-win situation for both of us. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Kavitha. Welcome, Uttam. I go straight to you right now. Kids content. Is kids content underserved in traditional TV and online video? And what opportunities this may offer to kids content producers?
Right. Thank you, ATF and everybody. So with regards to the kids content being underserved, I think what I would say is that there is a lot of scope right now. Not underserved per se, but most likely the thing is India has a huge population. Half of it, is in the age group under 25, which means that's the reason why you're seeing the growth in the OTT segment and the penetration of digital media, everybody having a smart screen towards themselves. And again, half of that population is within the range of 2 to 14, which is the kids we cater to. So the scope is huge. There are millions and millions of audience just waiting to be tapped. You have to pick up the right platform. You have to pick up the right content to reach out to them. So my take is that we're not underserved per se, but more like tapping that opportunity, which is open for everybody right now. It is important, as a suggestion for content creators, and sellers across globe to understand why Indian market is pretty much unique in itself. Primarily because it has its own very unique culture. There has been a culture of storytelling, and whether it was through mythology or the cinema, which is so big, considered Bollywood, which is Hindi cinema, or the Tamil cinema, Telugu, Punjabi. So all the languages, have created their own ecosystem, and they're very well thriving. All this has led to now tapping that opportunity on a different platform. Audience is always in love with new stories and characters which they can resonate and connect with. It was all about whether you can adapt them to a new, technology, whether to a smart screen. So great opportunity for everybody is what I'm saying.
Uttam, I want to ask you to explain to us how Discovery is adapting Bollywood into animation IPs, and whether that is something that other maybe content producers can follow and grow the market.
Right. So Discovery Kids initially used to be infotainment driven in India, Discovery Kids in India I'm talking about. That sort of we were a very small player, in the entire kids category. And there were other established, well-rounded, players who had been in entertainment space. So about 3 years back, we decided that, we need to scale up and we need to be present and compete with the best in the market in the kids category. Now the time is less. We don't have a lot of background in that. So we took a different strategy. We thought like, we'll reach out to collaborate with Bollywood. In that sense, there's an existing IP with a character which can resonate like, pan-India. And we were looking out for certain like, existing IPs in that. And we found that in Singham. Singham is basically a character in Bollywood who is a cop, who's a righteous cop. And that movie has been remade, like, from Tamil cinema to a Bollywood cinema, to a Telugu cinema, to a Bengali cinema. So that character exists, like, in different languages, plus a cop character kids can identify and actually aspire to be when they're very young. So we decided to, like, collaborate with the producers and create Little Singham for the kids. And I think that really clicked well for us. That was one of our first IPs which we invested in here. And then we went big scale on it. We really went, I think from that time, it was one of the biggest kids original content deal which we actually cracked during that time. And like, to your earlier questions, yes, like, we are thriving to create like, multiple episodes within that, like, character and, going into seasons and many, many hundreds of episodes. Based on the success of that IP, we then invested into a second Bollywood IP, which is Fukre Boys. Again, a very niche but very popular Bollywood characters. We saw potential in these guys who were a little mischievous, fun, and we thought if we could take them back into school in the younger days, we could tell, like, a unique story set in a very unique environment. Again, that IP also clicked for us. So in that way, like, our strategy in that direction has been, thankfully, like, finger crossed, it's been like good for us.
I want to ask you, Uttam, we know from Netflix that one Indian animation, Mighty Little Beam, has great success, 25 million viewers globally, as Netflix has released this figure.
Yes.
Whether do you think that this success might mean more US investment in the Indian kids content, and whether that would be a very positive development for this content genre?
So quite true, actually. To give you a backdrop, Chhota Bheem is one of the most successful characters which India has launched. So it has a background, it has leverage, it has, like, an identity which is very strong. And then they adapted the same character into a Mighty Little Beam, which is a preschool character. And the beauty about, I think, the success globally has been that it was not made for a Western audience. The setting was very Indian, the character, the setting, the stories were very Indian settings. And I think it's the beauty about how the content finds its audience, no matter where they're sitting. So the kids globally, wherever they were, could actually, maybe because of curiosity or because they love the cuteness of the character, they really, like, connected with Mighty Little Beam, not just in India, but also globally. And I think that's where the opportunity on OTT platform is, that you might say that the content is local and regional, but it can be adapted and accepted by an audience you never know. So that's where, like, I think the opportunity is going to be. So same way, like, Little Singham in that sense is also connect with Netflix, and through that, like, we're able to reach out to a global audience too.
Thank you, Uttam. I want to go again to Kavitha. And Kavitha, I want to ask you, Sun, apart from being a major traditional TV broadcasters, also has OTT, Sun Next. So you are also in that area. Tell us from your experience whether there is content which is more suited for TV and OTT, and how Sun TV Network is dealing with that difference.
I would say Sun Next is doing extremely well. And we are so happy about it because we have a huge movie library which is with us, and we have been using these movie library in the regional languages, and it's extremely good. And apart from that, we are also looking for original content. And for us, everything at Sun TV, everything begins with understanding the customer preferences and their evolution. They pretty much guide our decisions. So most of the time we mirror the people and the society and make the content more relevant, and also, stay abreast of time. So I think at Sun, the core idea is to serve viewers effectively, consistently, and also creatively as we can. So we just want to transform the way viewers consume entertainment regionally and how creators create content in the most authentic and genuine way. And the digital is very much par with my linear strategy, and we are taking the Sun Next to the next level. And I think I'm talking on behalf of the other network heads and my channel heads, and they are just working on some original content which will suit our regional landscape, but get on to the global audience.
I want to finish by asking you two, I have done with Rahul, but very briefly, please, what is the plans that your company has for the next 12 months? I start with Kavitha.
So right now, as I told you, we have been doing extremely well as far as the rating is concerned in the linear platform. In the current COVID situation has seen an unprecedented shift in the consumer behavior and sentiment, which has certainly impacted the TV viewing, and it has seen a surge, reflecting in the viewership data as well. The biggest challenge now would be how we have to maintain the same trend. Hence, we are more likely to come up with some new strategies and some interesting properties to hook on to the audience.
Right. And for you, Uttam?
So one of our core strategies would be to keep investing into local content and create keep building these franchise which we have, Little Singham and Fukre Boys. That being said, because they're very character driven and the characters can resonate locally with the Indian audiences, but we're also on the lookout for more international content in the slapstick genre, because that I think is a genre which is very global, and I think some of the producers, creators, and designers, storytellers globally have done tremendously in that genre. So we are in touch with few of the global sellers on that front, and plus as we move ahead, the kids genre which is, as I said, seriously an untapped opportunity. We also are open to more interesting collaborations, co-productions in the future as we go ahead.
I want to thank you all. I want to thank Kavitha, Rahul, Uttam. I want to thank ATF. It was a little bit, like a roller coaster with the technical hiccups, but I think we offer a very interesting view of the dynamic Indian content markets to our attendees. What I want to say is, first of all, thank you all for your participation and your contribution. And for the people attending in just 10 minutes from now, please stay tuned. ATF will offer a new session which will delve into the markets of Malaysia. So please tune in 10 minutes at 5 p.m. Singapore time. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.